Okay, let's unpack this.
Mhm.
We're jumping into generative AI in education today, pulling insights directly from the sources you've shared, the articles, research, your notes.
Yeah,
Think of this as your personal shortcut, really, to understanding the evolution, the impact, the benefits, and yeah, the crucial challenges too
I found a challenge.
of
Yeah.
Gen AI
Hmm.
as it's reshaping how we teach and learn our mission. Dig into your stack, pull out the important stuff, connect the dots, and give you a clear picture of what's happening and, well, why it matters. So let's dive in.
It's fascinating looking at these sources, just how fast generative AI has gone from, research labs to actual tools.
Right.
Tools that educators and students are like bumping into now. The sources basically frame it as using advanced AI to create really personalized adaptive learning experiences.
Exactly. And the sources make it clear this isn't happening in a vacuum, is it?
Yeah.
It's tied into that whole digital transformation we've seen, chipping away at traditional education for years. We're talking tools people recognize now, like OpenAI's ChatGPT, Microsoft's Copilot. They're already finding their way into classrooms, into learning platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason it's taking off so fast, as these sources explain, is because of big steps forward in the tech underneath it all, mostly machine learning.
Which lets computers learn from data, basically.
Right, without explicit programming for every single thing, and also natural language processing, letting AI understand and, importantly, generate human-like text.
Uh-huh.
That's what lets Gen AI create content, help with problem solving, give instant feedback, that kind of thing.
And, like with any big, fast-moving tech, it's stirring things up. Lots of interest, lots of excitement from some corners,
For sure.
but also, a good amount of scrutiny, caution from educators, policymakers, people trying to figure out what it all means.
Which brings up a really key point the sources get into. How did we actually get here? To this point where AI seems ready to just, potentially transform education. It feels sudden, but it's got roots.
Oh, absolutely. It's not built on nothing. This current wave stands on the shoulders of older ed tech. The sources point back to the late 20th century, mentioning early stuff that laid the groundwork.
Like computer-assisted instruction.
Exactly. That and early intelligent tutoring systems, ITS, those were precursors.
Right, and then that huge shift with personal computers becoming common, and obviously the internet. Also late 20th century. That wasn't just tech in schools, it blew the doors open on access to information.
Totally changed the game. And building on that, the sources highlight that by the 90s, we started seeing early adaptive learning tech, really the direct ancestors of today's Gen AI, trying to customize things, give personalized feedback based on progress.
It's insightful how educational theory also nudged things along this path. The sources connect it to key thinkers, like B.F. Skinner, his work on reinforcement, programmed instruction.
Breaking things down, immediate feedback.
Exactly. Those ideas echo in AI tutors today.
Or Jean Piaget, right. His theories on cognitive development stages, that really supports the whole idea that learning should be personalized to where a student actually is, which is a core promise of Gen AI.
Mm-hmm. And Lev Vygotsky, too, with his zone of proximal development, that sweet spot between what you can do alone and what you need help with.
Yeah.
The sources show Gen AI trying to operate right in that zone, using data analysis to tailor the support and challenge just right.
So you've got this convergence. The tech evolving from simple CAI to complex AI, the educational theories pushing for tailored learning, all meeting these powerful 21st century machine learning and NLP capabilities. That whole sweep is what enables Gen AI now to, generate stuff, help solve problems, give feedback.
Precisely. And with that history in mind, we can look at the really exciting potential. The sources are highlighting the specific ways it's being used right now.
Okay, applications.
Yeah.
The sources really stress this idea of truly personalized learning experiences, moving away from that one-size-fits-all lecture hall model.
Yeah, Gen AI, as described here, can adapt the content, the pace, even the style of teaching to fit individual students, how they learn best.
How does it do that practically?
While the sources talk about AI platforms analyzing interactions, seeing where a student slows down, what they ask, where they struggle,
Ah,
and then it dynamically suggests specific resources, maybe a different explanation or extra practice targeted right at those gaps. It's about tailoring the whole journey.
and those intelligent tutoring systems, ITS we mentioned, they've evolved too, right? The sources paint them as pretty sophisticated now.
Oh yeah, very sophisticated. Simulating that valuable one-on-one tutoring. but scalable. They watch performance in real time.
As you're doing the work.
Exactly. Offering immediate specific feedback if you get stuck. They can break down complex ideas into smaller steps and, crucially, adjust the difficulty on the fly based on how you're doing. We're seeing them use K-12, higher ed, homework help, practice outside class time.
Interesting. And it's not just about core subjects, is it? The sources also mentioned enhancing engagement, creativity.
Right. GenAI tools can generate creative starting points, writing prompts, visual concepts, even bits of music. It can make learning feel more interactive, spark imagination.
So if you're stuck staring at a blank page.
It can offer ideas, maybe overcome that block. And the instant feedback loop isn't just for fixing mistakes. It lets students experiment more freely, get quick critiques on drafts, or refine creative work faster. It potentially fosters a more dynamic creative process, especially noted in sources looking at arts and writing.
Okay, so the potential applications are broad. Let's focus on the tangible advantages, the real benefits the sources are pointing to.
Well, a primary one across the board is just better learning experiences overall. Students report it. Research suggests improved outcomes with this personalized support and quick feedback.
Hmm.
Some research even finds a positive link between how familiar students are with Gen AI and how accepting they are of it. Suggests engagement itself boosts understanding and comfort.
That makes sense.
And tailoring resources to unique styles, unique needs, it just leads to more engaging and often more effective learning.
Which feeds into that student expectation now, doesn't it? 24/7 access to help. GenAI provides that personalized feedback, helps with writing, brainstorming, whenever you need it.
Exactly. And the sources also mention how AI-generated insights about student interests, maybe from project choices or questions asked, can be gold for educators.
Oh, so?
It helps them connect better, tailor examples to make them more relevant, more engaging for that specific student.
And what about the educators themselves? Are there efficiency gains? The sources touch on that, right?
Oh, definitely. Big improvements in efficiency are highlighted. GenAI can automate a lot of routine, time-sucking tasks,
Like what?
like drafting initial lesson outlines, generating practice questions, maybe even giving a first pass of feedback on essays.
Okay.
By taking on that stuff, it frees up educators' time. The sources suggest this time can go towards more strategic things, designing better lessons, giving focused one-on-one help, their own professional growth.
So it streamlines things for teachers, and maybe for the institutions, too.
Yes, institutional admin processes can also be streamlined, improving overall efficiency, according to some research.
And one last big advantage mentioned, addressing diverse learning needs.
Yes, that's significant. Those adaptable ITS systems can really adjust content and support for students with special requirements or different learning speeds, offering truly targeted help. The sources suggest this really pushes inclusivity, making sure more students can access and succeed.
So putting it all together, the benefits paint a pretty compelling picture. More effective, efficient, maybe more equitable education.
It's a compelling vision, absolutely. But, and it's a big but, the sources you shared are very clear about the flip side, the tough questions, the significant hurdles.
Right. This is where it gets, let's say, really interesting and challenging. Let's shift to those considerations. Ethical dilemmas seem like a major one.
Yes, and top of that list, rightly so, is privacy and data security. Schools handle incredibly sensitive student data grades, personal info, how they interact with platforms.
All track.
All tracked. Safeguarding that is critical. The sources stress needing robust security, strict compliance with rules like FERPA in the US, GDPR in Europe. And there's also talk about needing more transparency, understanding how these AI systems make decisions. The black box problem.
Diving deeper on privacy and security, what specific measures are needed?
The sources talk about technical things like strong encryption for data when it's moving or stored and really tight access controls, making sure only the right people can see sensitive info.
And beyond the tech.
There's a clear call in the sources for better laws and regulations. We need clear standards for how student data gets collected by AI, how it's used, and crucially, how it's protected from breaches or misuse. The legal side is definitely trying to catch up.
Another huge challenge highlighted, bias and fairness in the AI itself.
Critical point. Because AI learns from data, the sources explain, it can inherit biases in that data. Unintentionally maybe, but the effect is the same. Research mentioned points to potential racial or gender biases in some tools. This could put certain students at a disadvantage, or worse, reinforce existing inequalities in education. So, addressing that bias is non-negotiable, the sources emphasize, especially if AI is used for anything high stakes like judging academic integrity. We need fairness.
And speaking of academic integrity, That's probably the most immediate headache for many educators, right?
Right.
How easy it is for Gen AI to write an essay or solve a problem.
Absolutely. It raises serious questions about authorship, originality. Is it cheating? Where's the line?
So what's the solution?
Well, the sources say institutions have to adapt their academic integrity codes, make them explicit about Gen AI, use what's okay, what's not, and equally important, educators need clear guidance, training, so they can set expectations for students on using these tools appropriately. The focus has to stay on real learning.
And getting through all these challenges, the sources seem to suggest, takes teamwork, collaboration.
Definitely. Educators need to work closely with the tech folks, IT architects,
Hmm.
AI developers to figure out how to use this stuff effectively and address the problems. And there's also a need for just broader awareness about using these tools responsibly, sustainably, maybe even connecting it to bigger goals like the SDGs.
It's clear these aren't just tech problems. They're policy, pedagogy, ethics, really complex stuff.
Very complex, requires careful thought.
Okay, shifting slightly again. Did the sources mention specific real-world examples or case studies?
Yeah, briefly. Examples of integration in higher ed pilot programs, different use cases popping up from admissions to course design.
Right.
Also, applications in creative fields, music, writing, art, where Gen AI is seen sometimes as a creative partner, though obviously with big questions still about attribution and copyright there.
Understandable.
Sure.
And those tutoring systems.
They're definitely being used more in practice, K-12 and universities, providing that round-the-clock help and easing some of the workload for educators giving feedback.
And looking forward, what do the sources see coming next?
Continued development of the tech itself, making the underlying systems more robust, better at predicting student needs, easier to use across different platforms. And that theme of ongoing collaboration between educators and tech experts just keeps coming up as vital for making this work well and ethically.
Okay, so pulling it all together from the sources you shared, this deep dive really shows generative AI has this incredible potential, doesn't it, for personalization, efficiency, creativity,
hmm
all building on decades of edtech history and learning theory.
And the sources are crystal clear on this, realizing that potential means we absolutely have to navigate some serious challenges. Ethics, data privacy, bias, academic integrity. These are big hurdles.
Yeah, and this tech, it's rapidly changing the educational world you interact with, whether you're a student, a teacher, or just interested in where learning is headed.
It really leaves us with a crucial question to think about, doesn't it? As Gen AI gets more embedded in how we learn, how do we make absolutely sure it enhances, truly elevates the human parts of teaching, learning, thinking creatively,
Yeah.
instead of somehow diminishing or replacing them?
That is definitely something to mull over as you engage with this too. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.